65.6 million. That's the number of people around the world who've been forced from their homes due to persecution and conflict. Over 30% of that 65.6 million are hosted here on the continent of Africa. That's roughly 20.2 million displaced people. Nearly 500,000 refugees have made a temporary home here in Kenya, 78% of whom are women and children. Just a few days ago, the world celebrated International Women's Day, and we thought this couldn't have been a better time to share the stories of women who overcame unbelievable odds to not just survive, but thrive after fleeing their home countries. They are a picture of hope and wonderful examples of what support can do to improve the lives of refugees who every day still pray and hope that peace and stability become a reality in their home countries. Let's meet them now. Naima Ibrahim is a mother of two who fled Sudan in 1999 when she was just 17 years old. The outbreak of war saw her and her husband leave everything they had. Aline Hakizimana is a mother of five from Burundi who was the unfortunate victim of political persecution. The pastor and businesswoman came to Kenya in 2017 after enduring 2 years in a Burundian prison for committing no crime. Lucy Jua has called Kenya home for the last 26 years. She never expected to be here this long, but circumstances in her home country of South Sudan that involved intimidation of her journalist husband would not allow her to return. Life is better now for her and her 5 children as they hope things get better. So we're here at Tara Suites in Gigiri having this really important conversation. Oftentimes when we have topics on women, we don't focus necessarily on women who have been displaced. And that's why I'm really excited to have you all here with me. Welcome. Ellen, let me start with you and what life was like in Burundi before it became a bit too difficult to stay. Take us through what life was like.
Burundi, for those who don't know, it is a small country but a nice one. We have a good climate. We can do. It was peaceful, but after a few days, the time of election, so it is where the country was really disturbed.
So what were you doing before the instability of elections came?
Normally, I was working in bank.
Okay.
After I start my own business, and then I start even to preach the gospel.
Wow.
I'm a pastor.
So you're also a minister?
Yes, I'm a minister.
So what happened? Because I know when we were speaking a bit earlier on, you mentioned that you were arrested.
Yes.
So what happened there?
It was the time of campaign around the election season. So because I have a big women ministry, around 10,000 women, somebody asked me to do the campaign for him, and he's going to elect by those women. But the problem it was because I organized those women by the word of God. So it was really difficult for me to change and tell them to go to the politics. So the time I say I can't, it is where I was started to be looking until they put me in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you in prison?
I was there for 2 years.
My goodness. And what was that experience like? Because it's not like you were arrested for a crime.
The difficulty I found, myself, I didn't have any file on my name.
Yeah.
I was just put in prison. When you are going to look for my name in court, they can't find my name. So I was there just like a punishment because I don't like to go to the politics.
Wow, I can only imagine, Aline, what it was like to be in prison for something you have no idea what you were arrested for. And we'll get to your journey now from Burundi to Kenya. But Naima, what was life like in Sudan before it became unstable and you decided it's time to leave? I'm sure it was a really nice place to be.
Yes, it was very nice. The school was there, food was there, water is there. You can move freely, you sleep freely. Everything was okay.
When did they get to a place where you thought, I can't stay here anymore?
91, 92, this is when things become worse there. When children are in school, the bombing, airplanes come and bomb and they are not able to learn. And the food was not there. The water also was not there. If you go to fetch water, you walk like 3-4 hours. And it's also difficult. When you're going to fetch water, sometimes you will find the enemies are there. They will attack you. You run. Sometimes you come back without water even. You'll come and sleep thirsty without water. The war it is between government of Sudan and SPLA North. Yes.
And so when you came to Kenya, we'll get to that because that also is another story.
Yeah.
But Lucy, South Sudan is home, and you've been away for, what now, almost 2 decades?
Yes.
What was it like before all of that happened and things started to deteriorate in your country? What was life like?
I usually remember when the moon was so bright. The children from different homes, how they sing, how they sing and rejoice together. And of course I was part of it.
Yeah.
When we played together until maybe at around 11, that's when we'll go to bed.
Wow.
Yeah, because in South Sudanese culture, people do not stay indoor. It is an open space. You stay outside the way you want until that's the time you'll be able to go to bed. And the most important thing I can remember was sharing with my family. Yeah. Sometimes you find when the moon is bright, you sit together as a family with grandmothers, granddaughters, grandfather, whereby they will tell you a story. Yeah, they'll tell you a long story, and from that story, we will be able to learn a lot of things. But now, it has ended.
We don't realize how war can even take away cultures like that, because like you're saying, older generations passing on stories and history to the younger generation, that can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
But for you, when did it start to get bad and unmanageable in South Sudan?
When I was doing my high school, the war has already started, and immediately I finished my Form 3. Usually we have Senior 1 up to Senior 3. Immediately I finished. It was in March. In May, I got married.
Wow.
My husband was working with radio and TV in Juba, and he was practicing journalism. So we stayed for 1 year. Immediately after that, in 91, is when the war now, the government, there was insecurity. The government were trying to arrest people. Somebody can be picked from the house, and then you will never be able to see the person again. So they picked my husband for about 2 to 3 times. So one of the top army came, and of course that guy, he was married from, he married my cousin's sister, so like we are related. He came and told my husband, my friend, you need to leave this place. If they picked you again, they will kill you. So that's the time it has come worst. We can't stay. Of course, by then I was very young, and somebody who has been picked from house, you don't know where he's going. He will be taken to the White House for interrogation, and then mostly he comes in the morning. So imagine the whole night will not know where your partner is. And imagine the way we left the country, you just picked a dress, maybe a trouser and a dress. Everything, your house was furnished, you have everything in the house, you just leave it like that. You just want to be, you want to save yourself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely get into more details for all of you in terms of now making that tough decision of leaving home, the place you love, the place you were born, the place you grew up, now for a new land. Let's take a short break here on Victoria's Lounge. The conversation continues. Welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge. We're still here with Lucy, Naima, and Aileen, sharing their experiences of coming to Kenya. Never an easy decision to move from your home. Lucy, you were saying how sometimes you're just leaving with the clothes on your back. That's all you have. Aileen, for you, you were still in prison. How did you end up leaving prison and then leave for Kenya?
Okay. The time arrived and then they decided to take me to the court.
Yes.
Because they was just, even lawyers, they was just looking my file. They didn't find. And then they decided to release me. So when I go back home, I found my children was not there. My husband was not there. And even the security was starting to be bad, no peace. People, they are killed. So I start asking myself what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Am I going to start the business again? Am I going to go back to the women? It was all not possible.
Yeah.
So one day I decided to call a friend of mine in Kenya, and I tell her that I'm coming for just a rest. I was thinking I'm coming for preaching and then go back, because I was not like to leave my country. So the time I came, reached in Nairobi.
What year was this?
December 2015. Arrived here, I went to the crusade. I was really fine. But after 3 days, when I called back to my mom, because my mom was staying with my children, my husband was already gone.
He had left the country already?
He left the country before me. And then I asked my mom, she told me they are not okay. Even me, don't come back. And remember, I was coming for the conference, maybe with a suitcase, 2 clothes or 3. I left my car. Wow. I left my big house. I left everything.
Wow.
So I didn't go back, because that time it was really tough. Yeah.
What was going through your mind? How are you feeling when, okay, now you're in Kenya, your children are still in Burundi with your mother, you have no idea where your husband is. What were you thinking at that time?
Really, it was only God, because you look before you, you don't see the way. You look behind, you don't see the way. You don't even know where to start. And then it is just my friend who encouraged me and say, go back, maybe you can find the kids are okay. So I went back. But when I reached there, that time it was a really bomb, everything, it was really bad. So I took my kids. I say at the border, I'm going to preach, because my passport was written that I'm a preacher, so they can leave me and go. So I took my children.
Did you go by bus, by car? How did you get to Kenya now with them?
I went by bus, but alone, and somebody helped me to bring my children, because I could not go with them. Maybe they can say you are running. So I decided to go alone, to come alone, and then after my mom come with the children.
How many children do you have?
I have 5.
We'll be talking about also settling into life here in Kenya and having now to provide for yourself, and of course eventually what happened to your husband, if you knew what happened to him. But let's get to Naima in terms of now the journey. you know I cannot stay here. You're around 14, 15, still very young. How did you make your way to Kenya?
I got relief agent's flight. So I came from there to Loki, then from Loki to Kakuma. Yes, I stayed there, then this way I came here to Nairobi. In the camp it was better than there because there you can, this service there, UNHCR help us with food, with shelter, and education there also. So there it was better than there.
So how did you feel? Because you know you've left family, loved ones.
Yeah.
They were still in danger. How were you feeling?
I was feeling bad. Every day I think about them. Yeah, because they are still there suffering, and I'm here, you can sleep and eat, but they're still suffering. So I was not happy. Yeah.
And there's a point that you did go back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There was a ceasefire around 2000, 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, I went. There was ceasefire, but it was not the full peace, but ceasefire. It was almost like 7-8 years. Then I stayed there. Then 2011, it started again. The war started again. Then I say, I will not stay there. I will come here. Then that's why I came from there through Juba. From Juba I came to Busia, then I came to Nairobi.
So when it came to now settling into life here in Kenya, what kind of support were you getting?
Support I get from through UNHRC with their, you know, they have people working with them, another organization like okay, Xavier, it helped in education, so they help my children in education, and also GRS, also it help in loan, so you can sustain your business, and so that so you can be able to live. I got
and we'll be
from
talking
there.
about also the business, because you're making some beautiful items, which we'll see
Yes,
a bit later
yes.
on in this show.
Yes.
And Lucy, your husband has been picked up by government 2 or 3 times by now, and you know this is not the place that we need to be for very long. What was the journey like now coming to Kenya?
It has been a difficult journey, and when we are coming, we used truck up to Lokichokyo. When we were in Lokichokyo, we met, my husband used to be a secretary general in the church, in a Catholic church. So we met one of the priests who was in Lokichokyo. So he's the one who managed to brought us up to Nairobi. I remember we just took a cup. We took 2 cups and 1 thermos plus our dresses. That's only what we have carried. So we just left the house just the way it is.
So you are settling in, you're trying to figure out this new country, Kenya. How were you able to now integrate into society and life here?
Okay, from 90s, let's say, things were not easy. By then, I think even Kenyans do not understand what refugees means. Because like we didn't know even the language. I didn't know Kiswahili. If you go to the market, the price will be up.
Yes,
They'll say these are foreigners, they have the money. Without knowing, we are desperate, even we are waiting for somebody who can be able to give us some food. You see? So, it was a difficult life. As I've said from the beginning, in South Sudan, our culture is you stay out, you find any person on the way, you greet. But here life was a bit different automatically. People were indoor, and I remember that time, 92, it used to rain a lot. You can't even see sun. And we're indoor, you come from inside, you go to the market, you come back in the house. So it took us time, it took me time for me to start to integrate with Kenyans. Yeah. But later on, I really integrated very well. And we're having a project for refugee. It is called Lamaniaju. That's where I started learning Kiswahili much better. Yeah. It was specifically for the refugees women. But when we were progressing with the project, we felt that even the Kenyan women are facing the same problem that any woman can face. So they became part of us. We started doing the training together, and that is the way I really integrated with the Kenyans. And I like to thank Kenyans. They are good people. It depends on the individually, how you cooperate, how you take yourself in the community. The way you take yourself is the way people of Kenya will receive you.
That's amazing, and I'm glad that you've mentioned, even with this group that you created, women from different countries, even Kenyans, you connected on your experiences as women here in Kenya to show that, you know, even though, yes, I've left my home country and I was displaced against my will, I can still find a home, I can still find community wherever I go. And I hope that's a message that's coming out strong from this conversation. On that note, let's take a short break here on Victoria's Lounge. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Now you can see the set has changed quite a bit. We have a few wares from the beautiful ladies here, some of the work that they do. And let's talk about how this even began, because when you come into a new situation, a temporary situation, you're trying to figure out, how do I even begin to provide for my family? And Aline, let's begin with you. You have a whole store where you are. I think we can just do shopping with Aline here. But how did the UNHCR at least help you and enable you to be able to start your and run your own business?
The first time I went to Shauri Moyo, and I get a document to stay in Kenya, and then I go to UNHCR. So the UNHCR, it was directing us different organizations. There are some who can give the school fees or the uniform for children. There are some who can give you a loan to start small business. There are some who can counsel you, because some of us, we was really having a heart which is broken. So we start from there. UNHCR start with us, and then until where we are. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you have with you? I'd like to know. I can see some children's clothing.
Normally, I have a shop where I can sell the clothes and the shoes. And normally, I'm a designer. So I buy some materials. If there is somebody who needs to make a clothes, I can do for him.
Wow.
And also I make the table mats, all things. You know, when you are refugees, you come with nothing, only skills. What you know, what we can do with your hands, it is what we run with.
Wow.
Yeah. Government of Kenya welcome us, and then even they give us authority, the license to do the business.
Wow. As
a foreigner. All of that, we can say it is a good way.
And I must commend all of you to have such resilience and strength to be able to look past the fact that the circumstances are not perfect. This is not my home, but I'm going to make the best of it. And I'm going to make a life out of this. Naima, tell us more about some of the skills that you picked up and what you do, because I can see some of your items here as well.
Yes. I make this, this is henna.
Yes.
This is for drawing.
Yes.
Yeah, I make this henna. I also make tablecloths, like bed sheets.
So how does it make you feel, the fact that you can make these things, you can sell, you feel a bit more independent?
Yes, I feel a bit independent, and I'm happy also for people of Kenya and government of Kenya for allowing us to do our business here. Yes.
But now you're doing this on your own. Tell us what happened to your husband.
My husband was sick with liver cancer. Then he passed away.
And when was this?
2012.
2012. Oh my, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And now, you know, you're not necessarily around family who can offer support, you know, of course, once the head of household is gone, you now are managing everything. How are you able to do that in Kenya, in a country that is a host country, it's not a home country? How are you able to still be able to push forward?
It is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to push. Sometimes even you will not get for food. Sometimes the house rent is not there. The landlord can come and put the padlock at the door. Sometimes you want to go somewhere, you don't have bus fare. But I thank God what I'm doing now, I can get for sakuma or for flour. Yeah, and small business I'm doing, it's helped me. It's helping me, yeah.
Let me tell you, I'm so amazed by the strength of all of you, because for a woman, you need some form of stability. You know, Lucy, as a mom now of 5, you want to feel like at least I have my home and no one is going to push me away from here. How are you able to make a home out of a temporary situation for your family here in Kenya?
I keep on hoping. One day, one time, there will be peace. And I keep on struggling. And I've learned my children are, and they are now youth. I think the youngest is now 7 years old. And the most important thing is I've taught my children how to share. And sharing together will be able to show the love that we have together. Because we don't have the head of the family, we should learn how to share together.
You mentioned head of household, your husband, of course, no longer. What happened in your case?
My husband was here. We were here for the last of 25 years when the war was going on in South Sudan. But when the comprehensive peace agreement was signed, he decided to go back. He went back, but me, I remained here with the children. He was in South Sudan for some times, and 2013, when the war broke in again, the conflict started. He managed to escape. When he escaped, he came 2015, we were here. 2015, he was here. And then he went back in 2015, in June. So he was there. In 2016, I was called by one of the relatives, or somebody called me, said my husband was kidnapped from the house. So I was trying to ask who have done this. There was no clear information. There was nothing. There was no information that I can get. And that was in June. In July is when the conflict increased. So in our home area, everybody moved to Uganda. They took refuge again in Uganda. So we stayed because there was nobody who was giving me any information. What I know was that my husband was kidnapped. So we stayed up to September. September is when one of the person also called me from Juba. He said, you know what happened? Your husband has passed on. Since that time, he was kidnapped, he was killed. The body was found by some other youth. It is not known whether he was buried. So people were running up and down. They just dug a hole and put him in. So that's how it is. Up to today, I don't know whether he's buried or he's not buried. Where he was killed, where he was kidnapped by who, up to today, I don't know.
And I'm just thinking, because there's no way you can get any closure, or let alone even accept the circumstances that led to his death.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there is a glimmer of hope in your daughter, who has more or less decided to follow in the footsteps of her father to become a journalist, did very well in school.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, knowing that here she is, she was born here in Kenya?
Yeah.
And she's doing really well and almost carrying the torch for him. How does that make you feel?
Sometimes I'm getting scared.
No, yeah.
Yeah, because he's following the footstep of the father. But for her, she usually encouraged me. She said, Mom, I have my own way how I do my work. So you should not be so scared. And I really like to thank the government of Kenya of giving that free education, primary free education. Because all my children went to the Kenyan school, the free education system, and they did well.
Let's talk about this wonderful peanut butter that will be gone by the time these cameras go off. So this is part of your business?
Yeah, this is my part of my business. This is what I've managed to grab. You know, when refugees are coming, others have come with skills. We have doctors, we have teachers, we have nurses, we have everybody.
Yeah.
So when I arrived here, I felt that there is something in our country where people like, and it is not being produced in Kenya. Can I start to produce it? Yeah. So as you said, we started with the tablecloth. You knit it, and then you sell to people. And then we said, oh, peanut butter. In our home, when you are still very young, you should know to prepare peanut butter. You are not being taught how to prepare peanut butter, because that is our main food. And you cannot eat a vegetable without peanut.
Wow.
If you eat vegetable without peanut, they say your home is hungry. You don't have food. Yeah, so I started doing it. When I started doing it, people started liking it.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to find out from each of you just a perception that you'd want people to have of refugees. You know, people have their own ideas of what a refugee is, but this has been your experience for many years. And I wonder what you'd want to tell the people watching about what it's really like being a refugee. Aline, I'll start with you.
Okay, being a refugee, I can say it is a second chance to live. Because when we are in a country where there is a war, some of them, they are killed. Some, they are in prison. Some, they are treated, maybe they are in hospital. So when you are getting that chance maybe to run away and then come to like this country, Kenya, it is a second chance God gives to you. And it is also a chance for the Kenyan to receive that person who God gives a chance to live. So I can say Kenya, it is a country, a blessed country.
Naima.
Yes, being a refugee you left your country because something forced you to leave that situation. Then you came here, you have to work with people around you, work with them, and be frank with them, befriend their friends, and you have to work, not to depend on somebody. You have to work hard so you can survive.
Being a refugee does not change me to something else. I'm still a human being. And as a human being, and if I'm living, the people who are surrounding me, they should give me love. Because they said, West, East, home is the best.
Yeah.
Yes, home is the best. Because like me, I will have felt I want to sit at my homeland, whereby I can do what I want to do. But when I think now I'm a refugee, that's the thought when come to my mind. When I think I'm a refugee is when I don't have a home, I cannot do a job, I cannot do some other thing. There is a limitation in my life that some other things I cannot be able to do it. That's what make me to become a refugee. But if you have the opportunity, you have somebody who can assist you financially, who can give you a capital, who can come and ask you, come, let's do this together so that you get food. That's a life you can live until your country got a peace, and then you will be able to go back.
Wow.
So, refugees' life, me, I don't run away for being a refugee because it is a temporary situation. One day, one time, we'll be able to go back home.
Absolutely, and I know that's the hope and the prayer for all of you, that peace and stability returns to your homes, so you can actually go back and thrive, not just surviving, but thrive as well. But thank you so much for coming in, Aline, Naima, and Lucy, for sharing your stories.
Yes.
Absolutely strong women, and I hope this has changed your perception on our fellow human beings, brothers and sisters, not refugees. We share the same blood, the same experiences, the same burdens. And so we should never discriminate based on someone's experience or where they came from. We have a special message for you, but this does it at least for this end of Victoria's Lounge. We want to say thank you to Tara Sweets for being amazing hosts. Have a wonderful evening. Stay tuned though. I have something special for you. Now, you've just heard the stories of Aline, of Naima, and Lucy. And though they are empowered now, thanks to the support of UNHCR and other partners, even that much needed support is dwindling. Now, due to the dire humanitarian situation in Syria, less than 50% of critical funding that is needed to support refugees here in Africa has been received. So that's where Luku Luku comes in. It's a social movement that's centered on the African philosophy of Ubuntu or Ujamaa that's been spearheaded by UNHCR to shed light on the incredible resilience of refugees. So this really is a call for your support. Just think what you probably spend on lunch, something as little as 100 shillings that you donate to Luku Luku can make a huge difference, can bring education, healthcare, even economic empowerment to a fellow brother and sister who needs it to rebuild their lives. So send your support to M-Pesa Pay Bill 329378. The account number is Luku Luku. That's LUQU. You can also donate online to donate.unhcr.org/Luku Luku, and you'll make a huge difference.